how do we start to build the relationship we want to have? It's taking honest looks in the mirror and seeing that spinach in our teeth and being like, okay, it's time. I should probably brush my teeth and floss now.
Welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. This is a show presented by Heart and Solutions Counseling Agency. We release new episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central and encourage you to batch up that laundry, put away the dishes, plan for the week ahead, or do any other task that might seem daunting while you give our show a listen. You might just be encouraged to call your therapist, connect with this week's guest, or seek out those services you've been considering for a while but haven't made the commitment to yet. If you are in the state of Iowa and are in need of mental or behavioral health counseling, give us a call at 1-800-531-4236. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. My name is Dr. Julie Johnson. I'm the president and founder here at Heart and Solutions, Mental Health and Behavioral Health Counseling. And Krista Hunt is on maternity leave, so she will not be joining us today, but we will look forward to having her join us back when that leave is over. So today, I'm going to read us the mission of our podcast today in Krista's stead. So, You Need a Counselor is a podcast designed for people curious about counseling, but who have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health counseling and behavioral health counseling services. So our guest today is Katie Rössler. Katie is joining us from Germany. Katie is a licensed therapist. Katie is a relationship strategist, and Katie is the creator of the Rebuild Method. She has been working in the clinical setting and the coaching setting for over 15 years and helps couples to put words to some of the challenges that they may be experiencing. It helps couples to break down those challenges and some of those conflicts and some of those big feelings that we have when we're in those relationships, and really give voice to some of those things in a way that brings couples together to work on those challenges. So welcome, Katie. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, wonderful to have you here. So tell us a little bit, because we know what a licensed therapist is, but tell us what a relationship strategist is.
Yeah, so a big part of the work that I do is really helping couples to come up with a strategy for improving their relationship. So we start with a relationship game plan call. We create, I have an assessment I've created, and we look at the 7 core areas of their relationship. And it's really about looking at goals and reverse engineering them. How do we make that happen? So I bring a lot of logic into a very emotional topic, which is relationships. And so for me, calling myself a relationship strategist is just really making it clear that it isn't sessions where you just come and talk about, here's what happened last week. This is the fight we had last night. But it's learning the strategies to improve that communication, to feel less like roommates. The couples I work with have been together for over 10 years. So it's like, hey, we're just really functional. Like, yeah, you had to be and you need to be, but how do we bring that romance and that spark back where it feels safe and comfortable? And it really is about different strategies and tools because, as you and I know, therapy isn't always for everyone, but learning skills is. And if you need to approach therapy that way, then that's a great way to do it too. Hey, I'm going in to learn skills. I don't necessarily want to like bring up all my past stuff. Totally fine. But if we don't get to the heart at changing those habits and figuring out how they're there in the first place, then a relationship isn't, it's just going to be band-aids, right? And it's not actually going to be able to make the progress that it needs.
Absolutely. I mean, what you're talking about is really taking that behavioral approach to relationships that in our work we take that behavioral approach with children. That's skills building. And a lot of times we say, well, we can't control the feelings that we have. So what do we do, right? And children we expect children to control the feelings that they have. We expect our partners to control those feelings that we have. And we're all humans and we can't do it. We literally cannot do it, but we can address those thoughts and those behaviors and those habits and those processes that are happening within the relationship to have those different outcomes that we both want.
Definitely. I often remind adults, all of us, but even in relationships, the couples I work with, that it is often our inner child that's coming out, that little kid in us who feels wronged for something, hurt by something, angry about whatever, coming out in the arguments. So it's great that you are already teaching kids those skills because, yes, we don't always understand where the emotion's coming from. And very often I work with couples to unpack, hey, this repeat pattern happens in our arguments, and I have this feeling. And then it's like, where did that come from? Right? Like, let's start from the beginning because it had nothing to do with your partner. He or she or they are just activating it. They're just, like poking a finger in the, like right at you and going like, oh, feel that? And you're like, I do, but I don't know why. And that's what it's really about. I often say that couples work is a 50% personal growth work and 50% really working on the relationship. Because if we're not working on our own growth and better understanding ourselves, then we're not going to see a lot of progress in the relationship. And if we only work on the relationship, we're going to hit a wall pretty fast if we are not individually starting to do that work on ourselves too.
I love that. I think that in when we're in relationships, whether it's because we're in a couple with somebody, a romantic relationship, or because we're a parent and a child, or we're two friends, or any kind of relationship that we're in, it's very easy for us to get into this idea that things happen between us, and it's because the relationship or it's because of the other person, and it's difficult. It's so difficult to say, okay, a relationship or a conflict with another person is really a mirror. And it's a mirror that is showing us ourselves. And that, sometimes if I have a giant, spinach in my teeth or something, and I look in a mirror, I'm not going to like looking in that mirror. And when I see that reflection with my giant spinach in my teeth, I'm going to go, that mirror, right, just made me feel bad. That
Yeah,
mirror made me feel bad about myself. I don't like that mirror.
right.
Right. And so, but really what it is that it's highlighting something, a gap in skills maybe, or a
Yeah.
gap in opportunity to learn how to function within that. And so when we see that, we can go, oh, okay, that there is a piece that I can do, which, sometimes feels like it can feel like self-blaming. It can feel like, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm not the only one part of this, and absolutely we're not, but we have more power sometimes than we give ourselves credit for when it comes to these external things.
I totally agree. And that mirror effect is such a powerful way for us to see some of the pieces of us that we want to hide, right? That we don't want people seeing, and yet we see it in other people. I work with couples who'll be like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm respected by my partner. And I go, okay, so let me unpack this. Do you go to bed on time or early every night? No. Do you skip meals like at lunch, or do you like work through it? Or if you're eating, like you eat real fast at the, yeah. Are you making sure, like, if let's say you get sick, you have a cold or something, that you give yourself that time to rest to make sure you eat well and take care of yourself, or maybe put down some of the projects, don't say yes to everything. Like, oh no, I'm not really doing that. I'm like, okay, so you're not showing yourself respect, but you're expecting your partner to show you respect. And often what we're annoyed by our partner not doing, being, acting as, is a reflection of what we are frustrated in ourselves. Another great example is my partner's always on their phone. They're always on the phone. I feel like they're not present. And then I go, okay, in what areas of your life do you feel like you're not present, that you're not really focused and dialed in? And usually there's something we're annoyed in ourselves about that we don't want to focus on. We don't want to look in the mirror and see the spinach. We'd rather see their spinach. I don't want the spinach in my teeth. But it's a great, like our partner really is a great mirror to, oh, I feel like I'm avoiding and escaping by getting, it may not be on your phone, it may be something else, I'm avoiding and escaping and not being focused in these areas of my life because I'm procrastinating because I'm uncomfortable. I don't really want to take the first steps. It's going to be a lot of work, whatever it might be, right? It helps us see the personal growth moments we need to have and vice versa. And I can hear people listening going like, but they should be thinking these things too. Pass the episode on to them too. That's great, right? Like this is for all of us.
Absolutely. And I think that it is so easy to think in a relationship, well, I can change maybe, if I go through the effort and the work and I look at these things and I change my behaviors or I build up my skills, will it make a difference? And the truth is that no, we can't change anything about the other person, but we can change the relationship because we are it's it's easy to think that two people create a relationship and it's 50-50, but it isn't. It's 100-100 when we're creating a relationship. And so we have so much more power over not over what the other person does, thinks, feels, or responds with, but we have so much more power over how those conflicts go, how that those conflicts resolve, and whether we meet our goals in a relationship or not. We have so much more control over that and power over that than I think we sometimes give ourselves credit for. And I think that's so important. And you talked about kind of the patterns that, especially when we've been in a relationship for a very long time. I mean, I think about myself and my husband. I met my husband when I was 17, and we've been married for 14 years, and so we've been through a lot of different phases of life, and we're completely different people than we were when I was 17. And so, I'm thinking through that. There is there's a reason that we get into these patterns, isn't there? I mean, there's a comfortability sometimes. It's not all bad, right? That we get into these patterns, that we get into these like, well, I know what they're going to say, so what's the point of having the conversation, right? Because our brain does that to try to protect us. Our brain does that to try to limit how much energy we have to put into things. And so it goes, oh, there's a pattern. Okay, now I know what that is, right? And we don't
Yeah.
always want to do the work of going, oh, wait, no, was that the pattern 5 years ago? Or is that the pattern now? And so when you're seeing that couples have kind of gotten into those patterns, what are some of the things that people could maybe look for in their relationship to go, oh, are we in some patterns? Are we stuck in some things that we need to try something new?
Yeah, one of the goals that I always have couples work on is kind of like their homework item is to do my couples goal setting workbook. And what they have to do is sit down and imagine somebody took a picture of them as a couple right now. And I have them write out how would they describe that couple? Like behind closed doors, what is that couple really going through? What are they like? And then say a year from now, if we took a picture of us in the most ideal version of our relationship, which may not sound the same from either perspective, right? But like if we really were like the couple we want to be, how would we describe that couple? And then you look at kind of point A to point Z and say, okay, over the next year, this is the work we've got to do. That's usually where we start to see, we're not laughing enough. We're in survival mode. We're whatever it might be, right? We've got the scarcity mindset. Our lives are all about our aging parents and our kids. You get to actually see a bigger picture when you go, where are we now? Where do we want to be? And then what will we have to change to get there? When we do these types of activities, we start to learn more about each other's temperaments and personalities because one of us is usually so excited about change and the other one is like, no, right? You've got the visionary typically, like the goal, woo, and we should try this. We should go here. Let's do that. And the other one who's like, how are we going to pay for that? This doesn't make sense. I don't think we can do that in a year, right? Very practical. And it's like these personality types attract each other. They're very normal. Very, very typical. Same with like a thinker, more in their head, processing, analyzing, and more the feeler. Like, oh, and it will just bring us all together and it will just be so special. And it's like, okay, well, we got to come up with the plan, how we're going to do that. And then, oh, it feels so analytical then. It doesn't feel natural. These are normal personality types. But if we don't sit down and actually create a plan and factor in both sides and their temperaments and personalities, then we won't have the buy-in of both people saying, like, oh, yeah, it's worth changing this habit. The next step, once you kind of know, okay, here's some stuff like, ooh, how we argue is not okay, or we're not arguing. We're like ignoring each other for days, and then one of us will be like, hey, you want some milk? And that's when we know the argument's resolved, right? Like we're not actually resolving the things. And so when we say, okay, here's these patterns, then it's for us to sit down and say, what is my action step to start shifting? And sometimes it's I got to go to therapy and figure out, or coaching and figure out why I do this, why I think this is okay. When you sit down with a couple and you say, "Do you guys respect each other?" It's very rare that I have somebody go, "No, I don't respect my partner." It's always like, "Yes, I totally respect my partner, definitely." Because I'll say I on a scale of 1 to 10, usually a 9 or a 10, maybe an 8 if there's some like behavioral things like, "Oh, they don't go exercise," or "Oh, how they eat." And then I go, "Okay, do you roll your eyes?" This I'm coming in with like the negatives every time, right? Do you roll your eyes at your partner? Do you huff at your partner? Do you try to fix what they say? Do you interrupt them? Do you show contempt? Like, no one thinks that way. Why would you ever do things that way? Well, yeah. Okay, so again, we think we respect our partner, but we show them something different. So that's an action line item. How can I stop rolling my eyes? One step. I don't want you to do a full 180. One of the things, how do I stop huffing? That's going to be for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to work on not huffing. When I huff, I'm going to take ownership as soon as I do it, right? It's really breaking it apart, that cycle and pattern that we want to break, and taking ownership for our part, and then bringing it down to a small action item. This is the thing I'm going to work on, not for just a week, but for 2 weeks. And then after that 2 weeks, I'm going to check in with my partner. Do you see these things shifting? Don't change it after 2 days and go, did you not see I stopped huffing? No, this isn't about your partner. It's about you seeing it, that you're making the change. If you only look for your partner to give you praise, I'm sorry, that they need to be focused on their own action item, right? So my action item, I'm going to stop huffing. Wow, I didn't huff. I'm really impressive. Like, good job. Pat myself on the back. Like, yes, okay. And I noticed they didn't get so defensive. That's a good sign. Okay, we're breaking the pattern, right? 2 weeks later, have I kept it up? Or did I forget? Oh, but I was sick. I didn't sleep well that day. I'm hungry. I was annoyed. The kids, this, that, whatever, right? Can I stop huffing even in normal life situations? That's your homework, right? 2 weeks in, okay? Yeah, I feel like this is, or I need another week. I need another week or two. If you feel like you got that, okay, now I'm not going to interrupt when I don't agree with the facts that they say about an argument or anything, right? No, it was Saturday. No, that's not what happened. That's not what they said. Nope. Don't interrupt. I'm not going to interrupt. So, as you see, it really is, there's a very logical approach to relationship work. This is that strategy piece, right? Of us being able to go from the big idea, the forest, to looking at all the trees we need in that forest, to going, okay, this one tree. Here's this one tree we're going to plant to make that forest. And it does take time. It took you time to make that habit. Now it's going to take time to break the habit. It doesn't take as long usually to form the habit, but it's like, how do we start to build the relationship we want to have? It's taking honest looks in the mirror and seeing that spinach in our teeth and being like, okay, it's time. I should probably brush my teeth or floss now.
I like that. I like that. Being able to say, okay, can I change a relationship? No, but can I change one behavior that I'm doing? Something that I can know 100%. Yes, I did that, or no, I didn't do that. Yes, I rolled my eyes at my partner, or no, I didn't roll my eyes at my partner. And being able to saying, we need to change our relationship, that task is, ooh, right? Who can do
Right?
that? How can we do that? But being able to say, okay, I can, I cannot roll my eyes or I cannot huff at my partner today. right? And I can not roll my eyes and I cannot huff at my partner tomorrow.
Yeah.
And being able to take that and break that down and then do, I like the reflection part too that you're describing, because sometimes it can be so tempting, especially in a relationship, to say, well, I made this change and they didn't acknowledge it, right? Or they didn't appreciate it and they didn't make a change similar or something like that. And so what I like about your reflection too is, yeah, we're checking in with our partner to see if they agree with us with our assessment
Right.
that we have been making a change. But we're looking for those pieces of that change that are beneficial to us, because
Yeah.
that keeps it going. So being able to say, okay, I did not roll my eyes at my partner. I did not huff at my partner today. And my partner uh, put down the phone at dinner, right? And talk to us for a few minutes, right? That
Yeah.
that's a win for me, the person working on that skill, to be able to say, oh, this is I'm seeing not only a change in myself, but I'm seeing a change externally that I can keep me going, right? Keep me kind of motivated to do that. And I like the idea too. I mean, you talked about contempt, and with Gottman's theory, contempt is like, right, the number one killer of relationships, is contempt, and those behaviors that come with it. Um, dismissing our partners, or not listening to them by cutting them off either verbally or non-verbally. And when we think about, well, if I cannot, if I can't think my way into changing any contemptual feelings that I might have about situations in our relationship, I can change the behaviors that are coming from those contemptual
Yep.
feelings in the relationship. And changing our behaviors does change our feelings. And it's so tempting sometimes to think that it only goes one way, but it does go the other way. There are those studies of, when you can rate your mood, and then you can put a pencil between your teeth and do a fake smile, and a fake smile does change our
Yep.
feelings. And so, I might be very angry with my partner over refusing to put down their phone at dinner, right? We might have this argument all the time. And I'm like, oh, me changing my behavior, right? How is that going to change how I feel about that situation? But the truth is that changing that behavior, every time I do that behavior, every time I roll my eyes at my husband, or huff at my partner, every time that happens, it builds that up in me, right? It reinforces that in me. And every time I make a different choice, it allows me to think about, okay, what was that huffing trying to communicate? What was I trying to say to my partner? And is that actually what I want to be communicating? So if my partner says, or if I see that my partner's on their phone at dinner and I go, right, you're always on
Right.
your phone at dinner, then if I think about that huffing, or that rolling my eyes, or that dismissive tone that I might use, if I think about that, I go, what am I trying to say to them? Right?
Mhm.
I'm trying to say, I don't I don't respect you when you're doing that, right? I don't uh I want to show you that I don't like that. But even if I don't like a behavior, I can express that to them without the contempt.
Yeah.
And so the contempt piece is just so important there. I think that's a huge key piece in what you're talking about. And I love that example. And I love the example of, where are we and where are we going, right? That mapping out. Because again, speaking to motivation, right? I can see where those things are making a difference, and I can see where we're going. And if where we're going is important enough, I can make those
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. It's really important that a couple, when they sit down and have this conversation, and especially if they're like, contempt is one of our biggest struggles, or stonewalling, right? Like those two are really, really heavy hitters, that we factor in the family we grew up in, the dynamics, what was normal, how people, was it normal for the woman to huff as a way of saying, I don't like what you're annoying me, stop? instead of using words. Maybe your grandmother does it too and your aunt, whatever. Or like in my situation, living over here in Europe, most of the couples I work with are bicultural. Is it a cultural norm in the country you're from to use contempt as a way of showing disapproval? Like, I don't like what you're doing. And I live in a country where contempt is a very normal way in work life, in school, everywhere to state this is not okay and I don't want you doing this anymore. So, like in talking with my partner about it, I mean, when we were in our first couple of years of our relationship before we got married, I remember standing on a stool because he's taller than me, shaking my finger down at him and being like, "This is how you sound when you say these things to me," and being like, your tone, what you say, how you say it. And then when we moved here many years later, I realized, oh my gosh, it's such a part of the culture that I have to make sure it's very clear. It's not okay for me. It is not how I will be spoken to, right? Like, but I also have to honor and respect him changing is like changing a genetic piece of him, right? Like this is gonna be very difficult because it's so normal. Not only is he German, but he's German and we're living in Germany. When he was German living in America, some of that kind of it wasn't in our culture around us and things. So some of it subsided. When we moved back here, it was like, whoa, I don't know who this is, but no, this is not okay. And again, the longer we lived here, I realized, wow, this is how you guys talk to each other. Like this is how you interact when there's disapproval. I don't agree with you. Political conversations, life conversations, everything. It's like, oh. So make sure you're factoring in when you go, okay, here's my action line item. How deep are the roots of it? How normalized is it for you to be this way? And that might also be I need to go do my own individual work because I'm going to be fighting against my whole life's worth of learning to be this way.
Absolutely. So I grew up on the East Coast here in the States, and my husband grew up in the Midwest, right? And those are very different.
Yep.
The way that we speak when we're in Boston is different than the way we speak in a small town here where we live in Iowa. And so those pieces are so important. And
Yeah.
I think that what makes it so challenging to change the way that we have seen role models our entire lives, right? As how we get things done, is that we then have to sometimes look at our own lives and go, oh, I have made changes in myself that I may or may not have agreed with in terms of like who I am, but I have made changes based on other people using contempt or using those kinds of
Yeah.
strategies, right? Against me to kind of shape the decisions that I would make or the way that I would do things and all of that. And so to say I'm not going to do that to somebody else, to my partner, to my children, to say I'm not going to do that anymore, really does mean having to accept that we have gone through that ourselves, and that the fact that we have gone through that ourselves does not mean that other people should also go through
Yeah.
that, right? So sometimes it is tempting. It's tempting for a lot of people. I hear it a lot of and I feel it too. I definitely understand it where it feels like, well, that's what I went through. And so, so what's wrong with somebody else going through that, right?
Yep.
And it's so interesting how two people can go through the exact same situation, the exact two siblings, right, can go through an exact same parenting structure, right, family dynamic, means of communication within the household, and one sibling can say, because I grew up this way, this is how I will be with my partner and my children. And another sibling will say, because I grew up this way, I will not be that way with my with my partner and my children. And it really does take that kind of intentional mindset, because I think that the easier option is to say, well, this is how it's always been, right? And this is how it
Yeah.
was for me, and I'm fine, right? And all of that. But then we go,
I made it.
are
Look at
we
me.
fine
Yep.
though? Right? Like, are we fine? I don't know. And so it really does take that intentionality of saying, okay, not only am I doing this because I care about how it affects my partner or my children, I want to do it because I care about how these actions affected me as I was growing up or as I was a child or a young adult. And I'm allowed to make that change for myself, in addition to for my family, but really for myself at that main component of it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. So these are some great strategies. What are some other strategies that you like to use? I like that they're so hands-on. It's like, this is what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah, that's the couples I work with, and even individuals are like, I love it. At the end, I always know what I'm supposed to do next. I'm like, well, you painted the picture. I just said, okay, here's the picture. Here's the homework that you want to work on. So, other strategies that I love to give couples beyond like goal setting is looking at shared responsibilities. That's another one that tends to be cause a lot of arguments. I feel like I'm doing everything. I don't feel like you help out. I don't feel like you see the problems, right? So, really sitting down and making that list of what are the things that I do, and your partner making the list of what are the things they do. Because often we don't really see all the things that each other does. There's a lot of stuff that in the day to day that we remember or take care of or pay or file away or prepare for that we're not going to see. It's just impossible to see it all. And so I look at like an appreciation model when it comes to that. Like, let's look at all the responsibilities, who's kind of taking care of what. Do you still like taking care of that or not? We tend to fall into patterns of responsibility, maybe because of our family, maybe because of where we live, or who's got the job, or gets paid more, whatever it might be, right? Like we fall into roles and jobs without always meaning to. And I tell couples that every couple of years they should reevaluate because sometimes the kids are older and like, oh, they can help more with this. I shouldn't have to be doing it. Okay, well, that doesn't mean you have to get mad at your spouse that it's not getting done. It's a talk with your kids, right? That's a family meeting. But when we can look at those jobs we're doing to see, is it time to delegate them to someone else in the family? Can we outsource it financially? Are we capable to? Is this something that we both hate doing, but we've just put it in your plate because you have the time? Whatever, right? We need to have real conversations about these things instead of holding resentment and annoyance. And most of my couples are hyper independent and very like perfectionist. So I often talk about the fact that if they fold the laundry differently than you want, so be it. If you're tired of doing it all the time, it doesn't have to be done your way. You live in a home, not a dictatorship. So let go. And that is a hard pill to swallow. I get it. It's a hard pill to swallow. But if you're resentful and tired of doing it all, give some jobs to other people and stop needing it. It's a need. It's a control thing to feel comfortable and safe. Stop needing it to be done a certain way. And I often will hear that like, but this will mess up this, and if this messes up this, this messes up other work, and it's like our nervous system gets so wrapped up and things have to be a certain way so that everything else will work, and we don't allow for if that gets messed up by the person who has that job, it's their responsibility to fix the issue that occurs from it. They can do it, they're capable. Let go. Allow them to be that way. Or we're so used to being the yes person. Oh, I got this. It's okay. I don't need help. No, not really. And our partner may stop offering help because they're so used to us saying no. Or even our kids, I'm not going to do it right. I hear that often. Like, I'm not going to do it right anyways. So why even try? And we train our kids early on not to do it. Well, if they would learn it my way, okay, but they're their own person. Can we like stop making them mini versions of us? Yes, there's this mentality that there's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. How about there's just a gray zone of a lot of different possibilities? And it's more about your comfort. So that's a great strategy too. Sit down, write down all the jobs. Are you happy with them? Reevaluate, discuss what can be changed. And You might need to go call somebody to be that third person, like a coach or a counselor, to navigate that conversation by itself. It can bring up, you feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like a failure. I feel like I can't do anything right. All of, again, our stuff, not our partners, our stuff. But it becomes, you do this to me. You don't care. You're not invested. We do all the blame game and pointing the finger. And it's just about, how can we have an effective way of communicating the needs of running a home? I call it chief household officer meetings. Like, has nothing to do with the relationship, nothing to do with the family. It is literally managing a business called your home. Like, LLC if you want it, whatever. Like, your home. Okay, so what do we do to take care of it? And what needs to get done and who's going to do what? Not because this is what we grew up with, how it was, or whatever. Intentionally, let's plan this. And then it'll take about a month to 6 weeks to get into that new setup, because someone will travel, visitors will come, and it'll be easy to fall back into that pattern. And then you go, wait, wait, wait. We have our new schedule, our new calendar, our new things, get back into it. Or that yes person starts going, oh, no, I can take that back over. You've got so much on your plate this week. And then 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they're still doing it. No, no. Unless the person says, hey, I need your help this week. Can you take this over? Don't offer. And I get you, acts of service people. You're all like, oh, but acts of service is my love language. Like, I know. There are other acts you can do. There are many different other ways you can show them love. But be really mindful. You don't step in and change and fix the strategy you created that you didn't give it enough time to actually start working.
Absolutely. It can be such a point of contention, right? And like you said, identifying or reflecting onto or projecting onto those tasks different meaning about what it means relationally. And so
Yeah,
being able to separate that out as, no, these are action tasks that we're doing. These are not acts of love, right? When we're doing this, right? We can do it out of love, but whether somebody loads the dishwasher before they go to work or not is not an indication, right? We can't use that. That's an inaccurate mirror. We can't use that as a reflection of that person loves us, cares about us, wants to help us or not, because it's a warped mirror. We can't do it. And when we try to do that, right, when we see our children's socks all over the living room floor, and we assign meaning to it that doesn't have to do with doing the task. If we assign meaning to it, oh, my children don't care about me, they don't care about this, they're not looking for, all of this, they're not responsible. If we assign meaning to those that isn't there, there might be meaning to that, which is like, there isn't a hamper down here, right? So they're taking
right.
off their socks and there isn't a place for them to put those, and they're when we're assigning relational meaning to those things, that gets very, very tricky. So much resentment can build up there. These are great strategies. I remember one time I was getting very, very frustrated when my daughter was younger. And I remember saying to my husband one time, I'm always doing all of the dishes and the laundry. Why is this my job? I don't want this to be my job. And so my husband came home one day and he said, okay, I need to show you something. And I'm like, okay. And so we go downstairs and he said, this is what I do when I come home. And he went around the kitchen and he closed all of the cabinet doors that I leave open while I'm doing all of these things, right? He said, okay, I just need you to watch this. And
Yep.
he put all the shoes where they go. He closed all the cabinet doors that I had left open while I was like, I'm doing everything. He closed the dishwasher door, right? He
Yep.
washed out the sink. There weren't dishes in the sink because they were all loaded, but he washed out the sink, right? He and so these I had made food, so I had made dinner, but he wiped down the stovetop. He had wiped down the counter, and he said, I do this stuff every day because when you're doing
Yes.
those things, uh, this is kind of the aftermath of that, and I do this every day. And that really, really opened my eyes because I had never thought that he was doing those things because I wasn't seeing them. And so it is that
Right.
invisible labor that happens in the household. And when we make a list of all of the things that we're doing, it really can help us to see that, oh no, my partner is doing a lot of the work that I'm not seeing, right? I'm only seeing what I'm
Right.
doing. And that I remember my going to my friend's house one time. They were married for maybe like 3 weeks at the time. And she said, "Here's our chore wheel." And I was like, "What is that?" And I thought, at that time, I thought, "Oh my gosh, why do you need that? You're married, you're married."
Hmm.
Oh my goodness, they still do it. And it's been like 15 years and they still do that chore wheel every single week. And they never worry about who's going to sweep the floor that night. They know,
Yeah.
they already know. And it's just what an incredible way to do it. So I love that strategy.
I love the chore wheel. I'm going to add that to my repertoire as well. Like, oh, I need to make one up for our family. I have 3 kids. I'm like, everybody picks it, once a week. Everybody has something they do. I love that.
And they did it in a fun way. So they would literally spin the wheel every week to see who was doing what. So it's kind of like playing, Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
And then when they had their children,
Genius.
because their children are 10 and 8 now, and they added them to the chore wheel, and every week they spin that wheel and they write down who has what task, and
That's
just
awesome.
a really really cool way to do it and to uh, preemptively do that communication when we're not in a stressful day, when we're not behind on laundry, when we're not behind on dishes and trying to go, I don't have a pot to cook food in for dinner, right? When we're not
Right.
in that situation, being able to do that communication ahead of time,
Yep,
so important. And it sounds like
definitely.
you recommend those kind of family meetings or those couple meetings and check-ins, well, with you, but then also without you on their own at home. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. So when a couple starts working with me, one of the first things they get is access to a bunch of resources. And in that is a workbook of how to have a family meeting, as well as some worksheets for the first 3 or 4 meetings so that you kind of get a flow and you can fill it out. And then it helps the children as well as the parents to feel a sense of unity and coming together. And then for couples, I say couples check-ins. Again, it's not chief household officer meetings. That's your business meeting you can have once a month. If you need it certain times of year, we need it once a week. Who's coming to visit? What gifts need to be purchased? What meal are we planning for this? Might need to have those once a week. But a couples check-in is about our relationship. How are we? How are things going? And for those who want to get their feet wet, if you find that when we have those couples check-ins, we tend to argue a lot. Some of us go through that, right? Like, well, this is how I'm feeling. Well, I feel like I did so much to try to help you. And you're like, I'm just telling you how I feel. If you find you get into these fights, I created an arguing decoder. And it's this AI bot with my wisdom and knowledge put into it, but helping you understand your arguing style and why you guys are stuck in this pattern. So it really gives you a step into getting your feet wet into what would couples therapy be like, and gives you some scripts of how to talk to each other about that topic. Because I talk with couples so often about their arguing, right? And how these couples check-ins become fights, or even date nights become fights. And we end up arguing about the kids, or you didn't take care of this, or you didn't care, or you don't plan date night. Like these things. And so it gives you that space to go, okay, I'm going to share my point of view, what happened. Your partner can share their point of view. You hit submit, it analyzes it for you through the framework that I use for arguing styles and decoding our arguments, and helps you see your pattern. Hey, here's our cycle. Here's our pattern. Here are the steps that we're following. And how do we shift it? What's our action step? And how could we have said those things nicer? Because often we forget that we tend to talk to our partner the way we want to be talked to, and they don't receive it that way. It's like love languages, right? Like, I'm going to love you the way I want to be loved. Okay, well, that's not their love language. So stop smothering them with gifts. Like, that's not helping. They don't feel loved. They're throwing it away. It doesn't matter to them. They're regifting and it breaks your heart, right? But if we start to talk to them in the way that they'll receive it, especially in arguments, arguments are not as intense. they get to the resolution faster and it becomes about effective communication rather than not. So I'll make sure your listeners have the link to get their feet wet with the arguing decoder as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I like that again because it sounds very methodical. And with something as emotionally complex as relationships, it's something methodical, being able to say, okay, but we agreed that this is the next step. We're both going to put our information in here,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to and then our next step is we're going to go review that together, right? Having those steps is so key because can I commit as the partner in a relationship, as the partner who might be like, no, I don't, I don't want to do change. I don't want
Yeah.
to do for that partner, the idea of, well, can I commit to changing our relationship, changing how I respond, changing how I
Yep.
feel and think? Can I commit to that? That's a big ask, but being able to say, okay, but in order to get to this future couple that we've both agreed that we want to be,
Right.
I can commit to this next step, which is
Yes.
I'm willing to put this argument in there and look at the bigger picture, right? Not just, hey, you were supposed to mow the lawn and you didn't, and now it's full, the neighbor's now complaining to me that there's dandelions in their yard, right?
Yep.
That,
Yep.
that piece, we can't get to the resolution on the yard situation if we don't have those communication steps in place. And so that has to be that focus, and that is a bigger picture project. So I really like that, looking at the process of that argument that gets us either to like, well, now there's still dandelions in the yard, and now we're not speaking to each other, or right, or gets us
Right.
the outcome of like, there's not dandelions in the yard, and our neighbor is not complaining to us anymore, right? That's the outcome we want
Yeah.
to
And we feel more connected because we had a resolution and we felt like teammates
be. Yeah.
rather than victim villain kind of
Yes, we're
cycle.
both celebrating, right? The yard.
Yes.
Together. Yes. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for being here. And my last question for you is, if somebody is on the fence about starting and maybe they think that their partner might not want to be as involved, or they think their partner might, yeah, they might do it, right? But I'm worried about how they're going to be with this. What suggestion might you give that person?
Yeah, I think really a good first step is if you don't think your partner is going to, or they've said blatantly, I will not, right? Then ask them what are they willing to do? Are they willing to read a book by a therapist or a psychologist, right? Are they willing to start listening to a podcast together and maybe doing the homework in that podcast? Are they willing to watch a video or buy a course on relationship skills together and do that? And if they go none to all of that, I mean, that kind of gives you a sign of like, okay, where are we going to go? But if they go, let me think about it. Hey, yeah, I'd be willing for us to watch some videos together. That feels like a first step. Good, do it. And in your couples check-in, go ahead and say on the calendar, are we doing this on Sunday nights? Right? Like for 1 hour? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Make it something that we make the schedule about, not that one of you is like, okay, it's Tuesday, we're supposed to. We set alarms on our calendars. We set reminders. If your partner's like, yes, I definitely want to do this too. I'm a little hesitant about who. Then the two of you go into it saying, okay, first we're going to look online in our area. Or if you just want online work, then you've got even more. Like, hey, we can do it over Zoom or Skype and things. And well, not Skype anymore, but Teams. Like, we can do it that way. Then sky's the limit for many places. Do we need to use health insurance? Like, know your limits and also kind of know what it is that you're expecting out of someone you're going to work with, male, female, non-binary. They need to be trained in XYZ. This is important to me. Or they need to be religious, or they need, like, whatever it is, create your pile together and then search for that person. Don't just put therapist in, Munich, Germany. You're going to get a ton. But if I'm very specific, couples therapist who is trained in this methodology, the Gottmans, right? or Relational Life Institute. Like I want them to be doing Imago with me in our session. Put that in the search and then see what comes up, because that's going to remove the, like, we got to go through their website and look, let me find this, and ask if they do a free consultation with you. Maybe it's 20 minutes, maybe it's 30 minutes. For the couples I work with, I always give them 45 minutes because, like, there's two of you. Like, I want to hear from both of you. But will you talk to us for free before we jump in? And instead of you being like, here's our problems, I want you asking them questions. What's the methodology you use? How do you work with couples who leave your office still angry? Right? Think of the stuff that you're like, I really want to know about this person. Do you go to therapy too? That's a great question to ask. What's your training in? What are the things that you like? As therapists, we all have to get like continuing education. What are the areas you like to continue your education in? What is the stuff you're interested? Hopefully, they're still doing it in the stuff you're working on. That helps, right? If they have a book, if they have a podcast, if they've got a website, if they have a social media presence, go and be around that stuff because you're going to be hearing this voice guiding you. Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? And if so, why? If it's a good not agreeing, like, ooh, this is uncomfortable, but I need to hear it, great. If it's actually, this goes against my morals and values, not your person. If both of you can't make an agreement on it, then you go towards what was the one that we're more neutral about. Like we like their methodology, but maybe the personality might be a little bit off. But you know what? The methodology, the skills are going to be there. Then you go for that. Hopefully that helped in those two wheelhouse. It's usually one or the other.
Yes, very, very helpful. And thank you so much for joining me today and this information. I think it's so important. And I love the tools that you have, that arguing decoder. And so you can find the arguing decoder at www.katierössler.com. That's the website. And then if you go to /arguing decoder or click on the arguing decoder link there on the site, you can find that. And I saw on there too that it doesn't require that your partner also put in their side of the argument. So even if you're saying, but what's one small step that I can take as I'm even getting myself to the place of like, I want to have this conversation with my partner about maybe looking into some of these things, but like I want to make sure I'm also in that
Yep.
place. Okay. I saw that you can also put our own experience of the argument into that decoder and learn just a little bit more about ourselves as well,
Yeah.
and our style with our partner and our style with our children. There are going to be similarities because it's still us. It's still how we deal with conflict and how we respond automatically to conflicts. So even that, as a small first step before we even feel prepared to bring this conversation to our partner, I think is such a wonderful option as well. So, Katie, thank you so much for being here. And I also want to mention that you are the host of the Relationship Reset podcast. So everybody can go check that out. You've got 2 books, The New Face of Grief and Giving Birth to Motherhood. So I want to make sure that we say that because those both sound very, very helpful. And the couples work that you're doing just sounds very, very, very helpful. So I'm so glad that you're out there doing it and that you're available worldwide for people. That's a huge thing. There's so many boundaries location wise, or I'm in a small town, I know that therapist, or I know their aunt, or I know their
Right?
grandma, or like I don't know if I want to talk to them about our relationship. But somebody in Germany, yeah, I'm not going to run into them at the grocery store.
Not at all.
So I love that too as an option. I just really appreciate you for being here, Katie. So
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this interview. I really appreciate it too. I'm Katie Rössler, and I need a counselor.
wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie. And I'm Julie Johnson. And this is a reminder that we need a counselor, and so do you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the You Need a Counselor podcast. We are so grateful that you're here. You can also find and connect with You Need a Counselor on Facebook and Instagram. If you've enjoyed today's show, please take a moment to like, review, or leave a comment, as all of these things help others to find and benefit from the podcast as well. If you're in the state of Iowa and interested in mental health counseling or behavioral health intervention services, give us